welcome back. It's Mirador Television, broadcasting out of the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, East Sussex. And I'm going to spend the next half hour once again paying tribute to Stephen Catlin, our former mayor and a councillor of some considerable note, held in so much esteem that when his passing was first announced on this channel, we got something like 6,000 views within about 2 or 3 hours. This evening, the people down at the depot have organised a memorial concert, if you like, for him in the town hall, and people are very welcome to go along to see a tribute paid to this remarkable man. We're going to do our own thing, and basically, we had. This is Stephen, by the way. We've had Stephen as part of our contributors, and just to show you the mettle of the man, here is his concern about. Theatres. I mean, he had many interests, and he waged many campaigns, and it is right and proper that this town should pay enormous tributes to this remarkable man. It is just one of the programs that he did.
For over 35 years of my working life, I was involved in theatre and cinema. Still have a few bits and pieces in my collection. One of them is this poster of the old Theatre Royal Glasgow with a character actor called Arthur Lloyd on the bill. This dates from 1859, a little before my time. Souvenir from the Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen, also adorning my walls. It's a clever stock poster. You will see the printer's devil holding a pot of red ink and the clown ready. But the poster is blank, and that is because the artistic design was a stock thing kept in print, and on the appropriate days, they would overprint in that white space the items that were on for that day. One of the Alexandra Theatre Hall. The connection with me and this is the initials in the corner. TB, Terence Byron, who ran this theatre and quite a few others, including the Lyceum Theatre crew, which I ran for 8 years, principally out of my own pocket. What concerns me now is the plight of our theatre and cinema business in London, the United Kingdom, and across on the Great White Way, Broadway in America, because they're all shut. And as far as cinema is concerned, the circuit known as Cineworld in the UK, which owns Odeon as well, has taken issue with Universal Studios' latest exploit to release their latest children's film through streaming rather than at the cinema. And in 3 weeks it has taken more on streaming than it would earn Universal as a cinema release. And that is frightening. So with one circuit with over 1,000 cinemas now not dealing with Universal, the very core of what we know as going to the cinema is really very much under threat. One share of the market which may not be so affected is what we used to call art house. But even there, Curzon is streaming a lot of its films, and the BFI is doing an awful lot to stream classic cinema. So, with all this available, will the cinemas ever live again? Certainly, for myself, I see them not reopening in England, possibly the States too, considering the seriousness of things there, until December, possibly later. But let's look briefly at the theatres. Most of the theatres around in big cities are commercial undertakings. In my day, and I admit things may be different now, theatre owners didn't produce their own shows. They rented the theatre for a fee to the producer and had a contra account, staff costs and things which were deducted, but thereafter all the takings for the show went to the producer, which meant the producers like H.M. Tennant were really raking it in. Then we have to counter the subsidised theatre. Places like the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden, and the London Coliseum, home of English National Ballet, no, that's Birmingham, English National Opera, for example. These theatres are paid a subsidy via the Arts Council of Great Britain to balance the cost of mounting an opera compared with the possible receipts. They are, as is Glyndebourne in East Sussex, now asking patrons to donate the cost of tickets for performances which will not happen to the theatre. Well, why should we? We pay dearly to go to see presentations at these theatres. Why should we give money for something that isn't happening? And I have a belief myself that there is a misplaced sense of entitlement on the part of these theatres. In the case of ballet, it may be slightly more different because the Royal Ballet is a stock company at Covent Garden. Years ago, Covent Garden used to sing in English with a stock company. Now it sees itself, as does the Met in New York, as a much more important international house. Well, it's cancelled all its programs. Those international artists will not be available at the drop of a hat. So here we are, faced with some possible reopening, again I think not until December. How will the rehearsals be scheduled? There is nothing in rehearsal. For myself, I feel the plight of commercial theatre, like most of the West End and Broadway ones are, is much more in doubt. How will the owners of, in London's case, mainly 100-year-old theatres, even older, the subject of national listing as graded buildings which must be preserved, how will those owners have any money if there is no producer in existence to rent them? Now, the producers, of course, will have their profits from previous successes. The theatre owners will have reserve accounts too. But how will they get going again? You can't run theatre on social distancing. Every 2 seats left vacant, every other row left vacant. It reduces the holding capacity of the house. When I was manager of Wyndham's, we had to work out what was called a total seater. How much we could achieve between, say, a top price of £5 and the cheapest price of 50 pence. And we had to come up with the configuration of those prices as to how we could do it, assuming a full house. And The producer used to look at these figures and assume that averagely he might play to 40% of that and work out his budget accordingly. How can they possibly work on half or a third or a quarter of the theatre's capacity? We'll never hold enough money. So the future is very much unclear. And someone has to face the problem and start talking very seriously about how it is going to be solved. I leave that problem with you in the hope that someone will enlighten me.
Well, that's the sort of straight talking that Stephen Catlin did. But it would be remiss of us, particularly on this particular day, is to not show what we have shown 2 or 3 times, is what made him endeared to the people of this town. As a mayor, he rolled up his sleeves and did his bit in trying to make it a decent and nice place. He had and developed what is called the secret garden. And let's show you.
Hello, here we are at what was Pinwell Lane. It ran up through here to the top of the High Street. It became closed off some years ago, and this land is now called Manorial Waste. And we have to thank Every, the great Lewis ironmaster, for bringing the gateway from the Grey Friars Franciscan Priory here. This is the only bit that remains. The Premier Inn is now on the site and had been a railway station before. This is the much vaunted secret garden. Until just a few years ago, it was covered in weeds, brambles, and goodness knows what else. I suggested to the friends of Lewis that it would be better, considering its location behind this ancient gateway, if we could cultivate it a bit. And aided by Jane Tyra and Gillian Ross, I've managed to turn it into this. I'm somewhat embarrassed to say a lot of people keep coming to take photos of it. And I can see there's an overturned pot. I must rescue. But here we are. This is one of the better examples of the fruits of my labours. And I hope it gives you pleasure. Thank you. this, the family burial place of William Edwin and Anne Baxter. And dear little Emily in amongst the undergrowth somewhere. The hollyhocks will be butchered this week. But it is rather nice, the bizarre colours matching exactly how Victorian colour printing was done. But it will get a tidy up this week, I promise. Because it'll be me that does it. Oh, and the bees. I'm so pleased to see bees and butterflies around here. There is one, feeding. Isn't that wonderful? There's one bee I've saved. It's easy to get lost in the middle of this. See, zinnias, nearly 3 foot tall. They're only supposed to grow a foot. Must have been a good horse. So much colour. Well, I don't think death should be somber. It should always be a bit bright and jolly. We'll just move this. Let the colour radiate. That's it. It looks good from the other end, don't it? Like all shows, backstage is not so pretty. Mind the bricks behind you.
Stephen Catlin, and the memorial concert, if it's concert is the right word, and I think it is at 7 o'clock tonight in Lewis Town Hall. Entrance is free, but if you can get a ticket ahead of time, because it's expected that the demand and the attendance will be quite huge. A very popular man, and an exceptional man. And whether, in fact, his legacy will stick with some of the people that we have in charge, I have no idea. Stephen could be seen around the town in the various small gardens with a trowel, digging and making them look pretty, weeding them, repairing them in some instances where they'd been hit by a car or a lorry. And that was the mayor. A present crop of people are too precious to do things like that. Oh, goodness me, no. Heavens, no. They're too busy with strategy. God only what they strategize. I'm sure I don't know. I don't think they do either. But anyway, let's not sour what should be a wonderful occasion this evening, a concert at 7 o'clock in the town hall in Lewis, and a tribute to Stephen Catlin, a former councillor, a former mayor, and a former correspondent with Mirador Television. And we have a whole bank full of stuff, and we've chosen not to play it right now. We're holding it in reserve because Stephen could be very, very straightforward and straight talking about what was going on in Lewis District Council, and we don't want to sully what should be a wonderful tribute, a wonderful memorial service, in which it is right and proper that all the thoughts should be positive about this remarkable man. So watch out in the future for a few thoughts from Stephen, in which he does not pull punches, and which he calls a spade a shovel. And make sure that people are aware of some of the deficiencies and some of the gaps that need fixing. Okay, we are going to be gone for a minute or two, and then we'll be back and leading up to John Henty, plenty of Henty, and we shall end the day with a little bit of fun, a little bit of buoyancy, and a little bit of joie de vivre, shall we say. But don't forget, 7 o'clock tonight, the Lewis Town Hall, tribute to Stephen Catlin, former mayor, former councillor, but a man who took his role seriously and the commitment he made to this town and lived it. And well done, the people down at the depot, for organising it. Okay, we'll see you in a little while. For the moment, let's say toodle biv again for the nth time this particular morning, and it's just time for a wee break, just a little break, and yes, here we are from Mirador Television.